Throw.
It would be nice to have a boat.
Throw.
It would be nice to have a boat.
Throw.
It would be nice to have a boat.
Throw.
It would be nice to have a boat.
Throw.
It would be nice to have a boat.
Throw.
It would be nice to have a boat.
Throw.
It would be nice to have a boat.
Throw.
From your mom.
He didn't say it, Nick.
Stop the music. Stop the music.
What is going
Stop
on?
the music.
Nick.
We always have a thing we have to say. And because we very rarely give this opportunity to guests, Jack Mitchell, would you like to kick off the happy hour?
By doing
the magic words?
Oh, wow. Jack doesn't listen to the
time. It's time.
No.
For happy hour.
Wow.
Wow. And I thought you were a friend of the
The
program.
happy hour's on the air.
Oh, yeah. I knew that's what it was, but here's
Well, you didn't know what it was because you didn't say it.
Listen, I know what it is, and I know why it is that, and I've heard this many times, but I know that music because I'm old like John, and it preceded the Husker broadcasts, and they said Husker football is on the air. Like there's legit.
They wouldn't do that normally when they play. If they said Nebraska basketball was on the air, it was followed by "Send in the Clowns."
Right.
It wasn't followed by this. But.
Hey, listen, I bet you would. You know what? I get why you picked that music. I know it was you that picked that music and not Josh. I'm sure.
I like it though. I do like it.
And I think you and I may be the only ones that actually recognize it.
No, Kevin. When I found this was the greatest discovery.
Oh, you guys lost your
This
mind.
was the greatest discovery of the pandemic last year when I was going through a bunch of old tapes and I found it on one random Saturday. And Kevin Kugler and I had been looking for it for months.
Three. There's three people who know what that is.
Well, now, we explained it, though, to the listeners.
Many of the olds recognize. We got many emails saying it was.
You did it. They were very originally. I heard it, and I knew exactly what it was at the time. So
that is
one time, Bishop and I just had a really random memory, Bishop, when we did our show together.
Yeah.
There was an NFL Films song that I had in my head, and we were at a remote or something. I don't know if you remember this, and I was trying to sing it to you the entire time to try and get you. It was like before Shazam, and I wanted it for our show, but you don't know how hard it is to adequately hum or sing one of the many NFL film songs.
I vaguely remember this, but do you remember what the song was?
Oh my gosh, if I think of it, yeah, I can.
Can you do it? Can you hum it?
Oh my gosh. Well, I gotta think now. If we're quiet for a while, I'll think of it. But I know it's this one song. Bum, 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 bum. That's the one, and I still don't know how to find it or what it's called. And you and I, we talked.
It's not I don't believe it's an official NFL Films song.
Mm-hmm.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It was the theme. I'm pretty sure that they used on KETV's Bob Devaney's prediction show. It was kind of one of those 70s, 80s beds similar to like the Sports Flash bed, which was just kind of one of those generic things. NFL Films used it, but it wasn't like produced by the guys who actually produced the music. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
Literally, this is the same conversation. This is the same conversation you and I had 12 years ago where I swore it was NFL Films. And I hummed it, and I was like Shazam, and I would over and over again. I don't know what we were doing. We were sitting somewhere for like 2 hours, and I'm like, bum, 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 bum,
you know what we need? What we need is we need an app like Shazam, but for people humming songs.
Yes,
that could give you kind of an idea.
That's actually a great idea. I have that all the time.
Nick,
you don't even listen to music, Josh, and
I know. Yeah. But hey, songs get stuck in my head every now and then. I'm like, oh, what's that song called? And then I try to hum it, and somebody's like, I don't know what you're doing. And I'm like,
Shazam for humming. Yeah.
Yep.
Google can do that.
Really?
On your phone. It should be able to.
So if Jack types in, he has
to hum it, John.
Hey, I'll do that. I'll do that.
Should get it.
All right. Well,
the right song. I could probably find it after like a half hour of Googling. But yeah, you're probably right. And I probably did hear it on local programming too, because I don't know why I would have seen that many NFL films, but whatever at that age. What's going on?
All right. As Josh pointed out, people are on edge today, yours truly included, because there's bad takes out there that didn't like Nebraska's.
That's not why people are on edge.
Tweeted Iowa.
It's other stuff. It's
other stuff. But the reason why I'm on edge is because Josh has this terrible opinion that he didn't like the tweet. And this is the Nebraska tweet.
Thought it was stupid.
It's JoJo Doman hitting,
not making a tackle.
Well, you can't tell. It's a still photograph. It's a still photograph.
I know. We found the play. He doesn't make the tackle.
But it's a still photograph. No one would have known. But anyway, so he's making the tackle. He's in the water. It's all about the shark attack thing. And then Iowa dunked on Nebraska. And apparently you don't like this either.
No, Josh is right. It was not. It was like trying too hard. It was like trying to be too cute. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It wasn't that funny. I mean,
it wasn't meant to be funny. It was just a thing.
It was meant to be funny.
It was about, they call them interactions now. And this
it was
is
supposed to be funny.
I don't know. It just, listen, and I've had tweets that don't work. Don't get me wrong. Very few of them over the millions of tweets, but very occasionally I'll make a typo in a tweet. And that'll ruin it, or I'll do something else. Very rarely. And
that makes it accidentally funny.
I was going to say, actually, the typos make your tweets funnier.
Yes.
Listen, let he who is without sin cast the first stone, as is said in the Bible. But so I'll admit that that's obviously been a problem for me over the year. But no, it was not funny. And then it's yet another. You guys, Nebraska has been throwing their own alley-oops to other Big Ten schools and media for them to dunk for, it feels like, 2 years at this point. And that has nothing to even do with the actual on-field losing. It is constant. It's the it's the Jordan Dominique Wilkins dunk contest out there on social media for Nebraska for the last 3 years, it feels like.
It's like if the Giannis alley-oop the other day happened, but Chris Paul randomly decided to alley-oop it to Giannis.
That is exactly right. Chris Paul, let's say, for instance, they kept the ball on that. Chris Paul's pulling up for a three, but instead he shoots it backwards behind him, and Giannis is coming down the other way and puts the game away. That's a fantastic analogy.
It's a terrible opinion on both your parts. I thought it was funny. It wouldn't have done anything for people if it was a Rutgers player. It's an Iowa player. I thought it was nice because it's acknowledging that there's a rivalry out there.
No, it would have been equally not fun. It would have been equally not funny or clever if it was a Rutgers player, but then you wouldn't have had the dunk potential, I guess. That's the only. I mean, there are two problems with this: A, not good quality; B, dunk fodder.
Maybe we should just stop tweeting. That would be good. Just stop tweeting.
Well, Nebraska certainly should.
Yeah, don't say much for now. I mean, don't say much that's braggadocious for now. To be honest, it's time. It wasn't really braggadocious. It was acknowledging a funny story in the news and showing a Nebraska guy tackling an Iowa guy. I didn't see anything more to it than that.
Now, you know what? Nebraska needs to get up.
Well, so does this mean that you will keep quiet when we get close to the Nebraska Creighton game, because the same logic applies? Because Nebraska hasn't done well against Creighton. Does this mean I'm going to have complete radio silence for you for the next 4 months?
I'm not going to pull out a picture of you
standing behind me, taunting me at a game.
Yeah, now that is great. That would be.
If you want to talk about not funny, that was not funny.
That was hilarious.
That was great.
Okay, that just clinched it. You both are morons. I'm surrounded.
And I don't know. Josh Peterson texted me on Christmas Eve like a year and a half ago at 2 a.m. asking for that picture at one point. I can only imagine you were having some kind of a good time with your friends. I was in a hotel in Iowa, and you were like, "Do you have that picture?" Do you even remember
And
that?
these are the folks.
No, I don't.
These are the folks who are in charge of what's funny.
I must have been having a great Christmas Eve if that was the conversation that I was having in my
That sounds like a
drunken
really
state.
bad Christmas Eve. Like I am
I
really
like-
bored here
I like-
talking to my relatives about how I'm triggering
Hey,
them about Nebraska.
Yeah,
football.
I'd rather talk about the picture of Jack and you than, hey, what do you think Nebraska football's record is going to be this fall? And then I make them really mad
and
at
then
me.
get fried chicken thrown at him during a family
I'm
reunion.
trying to see if I can search for it. You can go ahead and talk. I'm going to try and find it.
Jack, while you look for that, speaking of Nebraska basketball, I have a Nebraska basketball question for you on this day,
What?
July 19th, 2021. You were so pessimistic at the end of the season. Oh, this offseason's going to suck. Everybody's going to leave. And now it's only good news with Nebraska basketball. Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
It's not only good news. They had somebody leave the program like 3 weeks ago, Josh.
And then they got a better player that came in from Arizona State. You got to be feeling okay about things now. They get a
better
commitment
player
this
than-
weekend.
Delano Banton, future NBA All-Star. Are you kidding me? Okay, so listen, this is all off-season good stuff. I mean, it's off-season, maybe good stuff. I've been there. I've had this. I've been through this experience. And yeah, the 24/7 and Rivals rankings are a little higher than I'm used to. Yes. I mean, but we got LeBron James, Suns teammate, who apparently committed, which is awesome. But is he going to be here in a year and a half? I have no idea. There's a bazillion things that could go wrong between now and then there. So if that's
We can have another pandemic.
right, the Arizona State transfer, super great. I don't know, something's really weird. He's got one of the weirdest stat lines I've ever seen in my life on some.
Oh yeah, and the 30-point loss where he had 40 or whatever.
Like I feel like there's a butt coming after all of this. Like great player, but something's really weird going on here. I don't know. I get it. I'm being probably unrealistically skeptical of what's been a good couple of weeks of news.
Yeah,
but that's who I am at this point. So let's see. We'll see.
The Donkeys would hate Jack. He's too negative for him.
Yeah.
I thought that I just threw up an alley-oop for you like Giannis the other night. I thought you were going to be excited about Nebraska basketball. I'm kind of bummed.
I'm excited for the season. I'm looking forward to seeing them, but I'm well past the point of just thinking any news that sounds good is actually good news until it actually proves itself.
On that subject, because this was something I wanted to mention with you anyway, and that is that I think over the last 18 to 24 months, there's probably been more erosion of the aura of what typically Nebraska fans have been in terms of having this historical birthright to greatness. I think there's been more erosion in the last 18 to 24 months than in any period of the last 20 years, because all of it's been one long, slow erosion. But the hurricane has gotten particularly strong in the last 18 to 24 months. Do you feel that more Nebraskans are coming to terms with their place in the world today, and that historical birthright of, we're Nebraska, of course we're going to be good. Of course this is going to turn around because we're Nebraska and this is what we've always been. Are you starting to feel more that fewer people are feeling that way?
It may be true. What you're saying could possibly true. But the thing is, even if it's a small minority that are still the old school, taking that position that we are who we were in 1995, or we're referencing that all the time, they're the ones who get amplified, and they're the ones. And so it's hard to even tell. Because the fan base has become kind of a stereotype and kind of a joke right now. And the more fodder that people, the Iowas of the world, the national media of the world want to find to reinforce that stereotype, they'll find that and they'll amplify it. So what you're saying may be true. I don't know that it is that dramatically, but even if it is, it's not going to change what the perception is.
Well, along those lines then, Jack, what did you think of, and I guess it's the first time we've had a chance to talk on the air about Trev and him getting hired, because he had some pretty interesting things to say, and he kind of talked about what John just did of, hey, it's not a birthright. Success isn't a guaranteed thing, and I do know that is something that, I think we all, in various ways, us three, and I'm guessing all, if not most of our listeners, probably took that for granted as we were growing up. Certainly anybody younger than me, I don't think that they're probably going to have that. But anybody older than me, and I'm 32, is probably going to have that. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you wake up, you're Nebraska football, you win a bunch of football games.
Roll out of bed and win 8 games, right?
Yeah. And so I wonder what you made of the Trev hiring. And this is a really long-winded question, so I apologize. But what he had to say and maybe if anything stood out from his press conference last week.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Well, the things he had to say, I hate. God, I just could have done without the whole Nebraskans are this, Nebraskans are this. And then the one thing is that they don't make excuses, and it feels like this program's most common things that it's been doing over the last few years is making excuses. When that was another Chris Paul backwards alley-oop across half court to Giannis again, and so I could have done with all of that, but that's not how I'm really coloring my view of the hire.
Sure.
I liked, I'll be honest, the thing that he did say that I liked is I've got to basically, and I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but I've got to sell myself to Scott Frost at this point. And that part I thought was way more interesting than anyone else when he talked about developing that relationship. That relationship, as I've said to you guys, to me, job one for, we didn't know who it was going to be, now for Trev Alberts, is to figure out a way to have his position, the athletic department, do what's not being done at any level, wherever it is, to help this football program be successful. That's job one, is figure out a way to make this experiment work and not move on to another one. And that encouraged me at the beginning, that he kind of talked about that being a process of building up and figuring that out, because again, no interest on him being in here, like we've talked about, as the guy to make the move. His job one is figuring out the issues and building them up. And frankly, and I know he hasn't been around a football program for a long time, and I understand that, but I will say this, beyond the complaint that I had about the stereotypical Nebraskans comment, I do think the guy's compelling when he speaks. I thought people were a little overly down on the hire. If I'm being honest, I thought people were a little, and by the way, the response I got was overly negative. I mean, it was really? I'm talking about my friends, my group texts, those sorts of things.
And real quick, any UNO ties there, or is it just, does it go beyond that?
Nothing to do with that. Huh. It's got nothing. Nobody gives a crap about that.
Yeah.
By the way,
but no, you're right.
That was something, Jack, that I found interesting, is that there are, of course, just the people who are positive no matter what happens. They're the people who are positive because they like Trev. And then there are two negative factions. There is the UNO part of the discussion, which I do understand to a degree. But there is also this fourth group, no UNO ties, don't care about UNO. And they're down on his hire too. Yeah. And those people, I think, maybe are the most interesting to me, because it's almost like, oh, why? And there's a lot of answers, but I do wonder the why with them.
I think I have the answer.
90s?
I think that's part of it. I think there is this, because they're afraid that this is going to be spun, and it was in the national press of, well, here goes Nebraska being 90s again.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that, by the way, shouldn't be a reason why someone is disqualified from a job. Is, well, I'm sorry, but they came from a successful period that is stereotyped as, being what Nebraska fans always think of themselves. So that disqualifies him. So I don't take a lot of stock into that. And then I think there's another part of it. And I guess I didn't do a very good job of saying a lot of this ahead of time, because I think a lot of the focus was on why Bill Moose went,
sure,
and how Bill Moose went, and why did Nebraska pay him to leave, and all the focus was there. There wasn't going to be, shy of a couple of people, Greg Byrne, mostly because he's from Alabama and he's got a familiar last name, and maybe Joe Castiglione because he's from Oklahoma. There's not gonna be an athletic director hire that's gonna jazz a lot of people, because no one follows college athletic directors.
Name 5 athletic directors.
Exactly. And so nobody was gonna be excited because they weren't gonna be familiar with the person anyway. And as we've already established, this athletic director hire, unlike the previous 3, was not brought here to make an immediate football change. And so I think there was already this resignation for people who are frustrated and just want to see change because, well, it's not working, so we got to see change. That, well, it doesn't matter who we're going to hire anyway, because they're not going to fire Frost within a year.
Right.
So, and I think that's where part of that coming.
Yeah.
There's a lot in there, but I think that's kind of all
That group.
where that group is coming from.
I think you're probably right, but I think that's probably a really good assessment of like where my group texts probably were coming from for the most part. But for me, a lot of that is a little bit, and again, the football wrestling thing is really hard to get me fired up about. But when I do look at UNO is that, man, he stayed there for a long time. Man, I'm telling you what, in Lincoln, I think of Omaha now, mainly because of basketball, UNO, but I think of UNO really differently than I did 10, 12 years ago.
Yep.
Okay. I absolutely do. I mean, they took Husker baseball to the Wild a couple of times. I know, they did the rebranding and they're trying to get us to call Omaha and not UNO. But it seems from an outsider looking in who does not follow that program, I see the new facilities. I see the hockey stuff, right? I mean, an outsider looking in, this looks like, to me, like he had a pretty good tenure there and he stuck it out longer than I ever thought he would. And when he talks, dang it, he's compelling when he talks. He seems incredibly smart. He always did, right? Even coming up as a player, which was always kind of why I was fascinated with him as the potential to do this. And so I don't see him. I don't really see him as a 90s football player that much anymore.
He's not a part of like that crew, if you will.
He didn't win a ring.
And he didn't win a ring.
Well, he won Big 8 rings, but he didn't win a national championship.
Yeah, it was, I mean, that 93, that 93 squad. So that's my whole take on. I think I'm higher on it than my friends are. And I think that is in large part because from the outside looking in, man, at a place like Omaha, and I know Lincoln's a different deal, but a place like Omaha, and maybe your callers are going to say, hey, Jack has no idea what was really going on here. And it's true, I don't. But from a perception standpoint, from the way that I look at that program, from the way I think about that program, and from the success I saw at that program, it looked like he was doing a damn good job.
So, Jack, before we let you go, outside of, Nebraska football getting good again, Nebraska basketball making a tournament and winning games, College World Series for baseball, yada, yada, yada. What do you hope he accomplishes as the Nebraska athletic director? Like Sam McEwen wrote a story today about the sell streak in the stadium. So there's that avenue. Certainly alcoholic games, if you want to go with maybe something smaller.
Alcoholic games.
People forget that that's a thing that
just
people
alcoholics?
Just alcoholic games. The game is alcoholic. Is that a fancier way of saying this game is drunk?
Alcohol at games?
Well, you said alcoholic. I thought
alcohol at games.
Oh, I thought you said alcoholic games.
Well, that's certainly already a thing. What do you hope he does as AD?
Again, this is a subset of the football success, but I'm not necessarily saying wins. Job one is to get this football program. Scott Frost is at the head of it. Okay, is to get it to the point where he is happy here. And you can tell it outwardly, and there's not frustration we're not overcoming the fans. We're not doing, you guys and I have talked about this a ton, so I don't want to go over a ton of old ground, but to me, that is what I want to see. I want to feel that this football program is optimistic and excited, and it's not for show, and it involves everything about the football program. It involves everything about being in Lincoln. It involves everything about this fan base. Okay. And I still don't feel it with them. And I think it's an impediment right now at this point. I don't want to hear about Central Florida in 97 again. That's a weird thing to put on Trev Albert, but it's more about the mentality and thinking about that all of the time. And by the way, 97 in Central Florida, I mean, specifically the 1997 Central Florida game. Yeah. So that's, again, job one is getting this staff in a place where they feel like they are set up to succeed. There are no hindrances because of the program, because of the fans, because of the fickle nature of the fans, the interest in the program, all of whatever things are happening behind the scenes, recruiting, otherwise, every advantage that they need. That's job one, and then let them go from there and take it and get the wins.
God, for a second, when you said alcohol, I thought you honestly
I was
said
like, what did I say that's so
alcoholic games? And I was like, alcoholic games? That sounds kind of weird.
It would be.
And fun.
It'd be more interesting than these Olympic games that are coming up. Am I right?
Oh, hey, look at that. He agreed with me at the start. Now he agrees with you at the end.
I like the Olympics, but oh man. By the way, you know what these Olympics are going to be? It's going to be like the beginning of last college football season.
Yes, no fans.
No fans, but also constant or people in or out because of COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, that crap, which
Do we really want to go back and revisit all that stuff?
No, I hated last season. It's
I'll tell you what, though, and I'm sure you guys have hit it today. I haven't heard it with what was said at the SEC media days. I mean, it just makes to think that we're going to have to potentially go through some more of that stuff in the college football season, forfeits, not playing, last minute things. But it's going to be crazy because there were games canceled an hour before they were supposed to start last year, right? You remember that?
Yep.
There are going to be 70,000 fans in some of these stadiums this year. Can you imagine? I mean, it's just going to be people are going to be at a new level of frustrated when that happens.
Well, the odds are Nebraska is going to be one of the two teams involved when that happens because everything weird happens to Nebraska. So just be ready for it. Had a whole game wiped out because of Mother Nature, and I'm sure they'll be, they'll bring Butch Hug out of retirement to walk out and wave his hands. It's like, no, the other team can't play.
Please, no.
If that people would lose their mind. Do you know how much people would lose their minds if that happened before the Illinois game?
Yeah, especially if it was one of the 3 games in their 3-game ticket package that they bought. Then they're going to feel like they really got jobbed.
Well, that's at Illinois, so I think that'll be all right. But yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us and for getting the words to what we say at the beginning of it.
Yeah, that was pretty good, Jeff. You don't even know
is on the air. I know it. I knew it. I was having a brain fart. But don't forget that other song though. We need to find that one.
Oh yeah, you got to do the Google thing. Let us know.
Yeah, I didn't do it.
Okay. We'll figure it out.
I have no idea what I would Google.
No, remember you
sports.
No. But I mean, if that doesn't.
If you had to type it, then you're not.
70 sports themes.
Yeah, that'll help.
I'll find it.
Well, if it's 70 sports themes, then they're good and they're funny.
All right.
And Stibbs isn't even here to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jack. Well, enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you later.
There he goes.
Bye, Jack.
Ladies and gentlemen, live.